Hello, fellow inventors! Welcome to the stream. I'm Wilson Goldfinch, your steampunk inventor from the sky city of Leviton, here to fly into your day. And today we're going to be doing some game design showcase. If you guys don't know what this is, essentially, it's a little series that we do here over on YouTube. Which folks, feel free to come over and check it out. The previous game design showcases that we've done. I think we've done like 4 already, including or not including this time. So if you want to get a better idea as to what the earlier ones were like, you can. But basically, we're gonna get right into it. Usually this is not how my streams go. Usually it's just like, we have a little chat beforehand, but because this is a lot to get into today, we're just gonna start off. Um, so yeah, welcome to Game Design Showcase. Again, if you don't know what this is, allow me to explain here. For those of you that have been, here with the series for a while, you'll kind of have the basic gist of what it's about. But for those of you that haven't, let's orient you on what this thing is. So, what is Game Design Showcase? Well, it's a series that I said that I'm doing here on YouTube. Twitch folks, feel free to again come over here and take a look at the previous Game Design Showcases. You'll also find in the description, at least again for YouTube folks, a link to all the previous slides that we're going to show from all the other Game Design Showcase days. But essentially, what this is a stream where I'll be talking about game design and walk you through the process of how to create your own games and design them, as well as as well as me designing my own as we go along. So each stream will kind of focus on one aspect of game design or the game design process, in addition to showcasing a video game or like medium that relates to what we're talking about, or whatever topic we're talking about in the game design showcase. So hopefully this will help you guys not only learn a bit about game design and whatnot. Um, at least that's the main goal of the series, is to help teach you guys about game design, but also hopefully allow you to like understand why certain aspects of the games we love work, and just kind of demonstrate that as well. So yeah, if anything, I honestly just hope it inspires you guys to create your own games, or if you're just here for the information and entertainment of showcasing the games afterwards, or just the informative part of talking about game design, then I hope you find it enjoyable and entertaining. So, little disclaimer though, I am not an expert in this field of physical or game or digital game design. I'm merely just sharing my thoughts and knowledge to inspire creative thought and provoke interest to the theories, concepts, and overall design process that goes into making these games. So take everything I say with a little grain of salt, but if you're experienced in the industry or know anyone or just would like to provide your insight, please don't hesitate to reach out to me either on here, if you're live, in the comments for VOD folks, as well as on Twitter. I would love to get to know your guys' opinion on games and whatnot. So, that being said, what are we talking about today? Today we are talking about card gaming and design, because we are showcasing, if we go to the beginning here, and if you haven't seen on Twitter, we're showcasing a game I made, a little card game I made called Last Stand. We'll talk a bit about a bit more about, there we go. Gosh, I swear every time, I feel like I say this every stream I'm on, but like English just leaves the door, especially at the beginning of my streams. I don't know why. Beginning and end of my streams. Like the ending of the stream makes sense because it's like, I've been talking for the whole stream, but at the same time I'm like, in the beginning, hello. Anyhow, but yeah, we're gonna be covering a game of design called Last Stand. It's We're gonna talk about more in detail as we go through everything, but just to give a basic gist, it's like a card game with RPG, like a strategy card game with RPG and dice elements thrown into it. So that's what we're also going to be talking about in terms of game design today. So yeah, card gaming and design. Let's get into it. So, in order to understand how to design a card game, we need to first understand the elements and components that make up cards. So, what sets physical cards apart from their virtual counterparts, um, or like boards in physical board games? How do they act, behave, or interact? Why should we use this medium over another, and what are its advantages and disadvantages? So, just coming from a design perspective. And one of those said designers is Nathan Altis. I'm pronouncing the last name right. He is a professor in the Department of Computational Media at the University of California, Santa Cruz, who teaches design, programming, computing, games and play, sound synthesis, and much more, which provides insight into video, or he provides insight into video games and board games, and how something called platform studies plays into card games. So we're gonna kind of analyze that a little bit and break down what platform studies is, at least in the context of card games, and hopefully that'll help us understand a bit more about what cards are, but also on some of the theories and ways of thinking when it comes to designing card games. Okay, so what is platform studies, right? Well, the term itself comes from computer systems, but at its core, it aims to kind of examine the way a system affects what's being created within it. So when it comes to, particularly when it comes to like creative works. So in the context of card games, this would mean like how the physical medium of cards affects the way the games are created around it. And what he describes here, there are three like main components of this platform studies that relates to these physical cards or digital cards. It doesn't really matter which environment, but LCS kind of classifies them into these categories. So we have planar and uniform, we have ordinal and spatial, and then lastly we have textural slash digital. So we're going to go over a bit about each one and just get an idea of that. Give some context to the cards. Oh, I'd also like to say as well, I probably actually, hold on, let me just do it right now. Because I said I was going to do it, but then didn't end up doing it. So, give me a second, chat. Okay. All right, so now it's live. All right, so if you want to follow along, actually, in the slides here, feel free to. I've just uploaded the slides for this day's game design showcase to the community folder. So if for those of you on Twitch, because you can't check a description, or at least I haven't. Can I actually edit the description? I don't think I can. But it is linked in my bio, so if you just check out the bio, you'll be able to see all of this. There should be a link to a collective folder called Game Design Showcase, and yeah, you guys can feel free to follow along and just see in advance what we're going to be talking about. And of course, there's the other Game Design Showcase days there as reference as well, with all stream links and stuff at the end, all linked and nicely organized. Anyhow, let's get back to platform studies here and take a look at the first bit. Make sure this is the first bit. Yeah, okay. So the first bit about platform studies is this aspect of planar and uniform. So what does that mean? Well, in this context, cards are planar, which means they support two different rectangular planes. So front and back. Most times, only one side is visible at a time, which means they can conceal and reveal information. A lot of this is going to be like sound pretty straightforward and be like, duh, right? But it's really important to keep this in mind when designing card games, because sometimes, for example, even just taking the planar aspect of it being front and back and being able to conceal and reveal information, I haven't played personally, but I have seen games where they kind of play on this aspect, and sometimes they'll have information on both sides, or they have it won't be like a typical poker card back like this, where you can see the card back design, and then there's the information inside for just the player. Maybe it's like for the player and the other players viewing the cards or something like that. Or sometimes they switch it around and be like, because usually you're seeing the information inside. I don't remember what game it was, but I remember there was a game, a card game, I believe, where or it was a game that primarily used cards, where essentially it was like the other way around. The information that the players were given were shown actually to the other players, essentially making the person holding the cards blind to whatever information, and they had to work as a group to deduce whatever information was on the cards, and they would be penalized if they got certain things wrong, and obviously rewarded if they got the information right. Again, I don't remember what it was exactly. I'm trying to maybe we'll try to search it up at the end of the stream, but yeah, cards are planar, so this creates an uncertainty of hidden information, which can encourage players to bluff, deduce, or rely on chance to figure out the card's information and what's in play. So it's important to note that the concealment aspect of cards also determine the physical arrangement of players during play. As obviously you want to sit in a way that doesn't reveal your cards information to those beside you. The next little point here, I just want to put this into context for our game. So you'll see with Last Stand, which is the card game that I've made. We'll talk a bit more about that as we go, but the card game I made, Last Stand, what you'll notice is that we'll be playing on this planar quality of cards and using the concealment aspect of them to our advantage. So again, due to the nature of cards having two sides, we're able to kind of hide information, which in our case for our game, ooh, sorry, inventors, I just dropped something off my table. Oh no, hold up. Don't worry, it's not like a drink or anything. I didn't spill stuff, but dropped something off my desk. All right, hold up. But yeah, due to the nature of cards having two sides, we're able to kind of hide information. So in the case of our game, what that means is that we'll have spells that will be kind of hiding from other players. So this will thus prompt uncertainty and encourage other players to set up their own spells, face down, of course, to try and counteract what they think the other has played down. In addition, players may bluff and say they have a certain spell when in reality they may have another card entirely. This adds a level of depth to the game loop that other mediums may not be able to produce, mainly like board games and whatnot. But I have seen it happen before, so it's not impossible. It's just that having that inherent nature to cards having two sides just makes it a bit more intuitive and natural, I guess. So the next part. Oh shoot, did I not? Oh yeah, okay, no, sorry. I am messing things up. I thought it was like planar. I was like, hello, didn't we just cover that? No. This is the other part of that first aspect, which is that playing cards are also uniform. So again, this is a lot of these first few points are going to be pretty straightforward. You kind of be like, oh, duh, yeah, obviously they're whatever these are. It just kind of comes as like second nature, right? Being like, oh yeah, of course these cards are like that. But again, I want to emphasize that while it may be like, quite obvious just looking at the cards and because we interact with them so much, it's important to bring that sort of thinking to the front of your mind, like the conscious mind, whereas usually it's like in the subconscious. I know when I first learned about these things, even though I was like also probably in the same boat as some of you are, where I'm just like, duh, yeah, obviously that's a thing about cards. Like, why do we need an explanation on this? Right? It's pretty straightforward. I've definitely found that like having that at the forefront of my mind, especially when I'm designing games, like we'll see today with Last Stand, I've definitely found that very, very helpful because then I'm just like, oh yeah, like this aspect of cards, I got to keep that in mind because maybe if I do it a certain other way, it means something else. So again, very interesting to learn about these little theories and whatnot. But anyhow, playing cards are also uniform, so this means that they are all the same shape and size. This allows for things like shuffling, which encourages random chance, as well as mechanical reproduction. So the ability to make more or less of cards of the same basic grouping or design. It makes the process of creating cards way easier, as there aren't various card sizes or adjustments to account for. In turn, it also opens doors for easier branding and makes collecting cards simpler and standardized for both development and production. So kind of think of like any TCG on the market, right? A lot of the cards are that standard poker size, if not a tiny bit bigger or smaller, depending on the game. But they don't have like one card that is they sell in like their standard deck or whatever. That's like, I don't know, like 5 times the size of a normal card. Like that just doesn't happen. Unless it's like an exclusive or it's just some embellishment to the game. It's not like a core part of the game, right? Like a collector's item or something like that. They usually won't adjust too much with size. Again, so it just makes it easier to like shuffle and have that random chance as well. Because imagine shuffling a card that's like 5 times the size as all your other cards. Like it's not gonna be fun, and it's gonna be very obvious as to if that's like one of the only cards you have as well. That's gonna be very obvious for like what you have, which also makes a good point as to like you can intentionally design cards to break those rules, and have your players, or you, I guess in this case users, players slash users, to kind of think a certain way based off how you design, which I've always found very, very fun to do when designing my own games. But yeah, cards being uniform also allow us to interact in a way that streamlined and intuitive for all users, regardless of previous experience or mediums. What that basically means is, because we've a lot of people have probably interacted with a standard poker deck. They typically know how cards interact, how they play, how they kind of overall work. So it doesn't really matter if you've played a TCG, if you've played poker cards. Your interaction with the cards themselves are typically going to be the same. Like you'll still understand the idea of shuffling, right? Regardless of whatever game it is, you'll understand the idea of taking out specific cards, or like, as we said, as we'll touch on later, grouping them into categories and whatnot. I think that's the next point actually, about cards being ordinal. So this is the second point here that Altis makes, which is ordinal and spatial. So cards are ordinal, meaning they are able to group into sets, be counted, sorted, ranked, indexed, and all that good stuff. This goes in hand with the principle that cards are planar and uniform, because without those, we would not be able to take advantage of its ordinal properties, that being like to sort into groups and whatnot. Without cards visibly standing out, as we said, like if you have a card that's like 5 times bigger as as all the other cards, then it becomes very obvious that like, oh yeah, that's something different. We got to pay attention to that. So with Last Stand, the card game that we're going to be showcasing later today, we'll use this element of cards to not only categorize them into different classes, but within the standard deck of poker cards, it also lies its own grouping within these 4 suits. So something to take note of and possibly take advantage of, depending on what kind of game you're making. So, again, more in depth here. So this aspect of cards make it very versatile, and is a key component to considering when designing your own games. In choosing cards as your medium and taking into consideration the ordinal properties of them, we're actually able to unlock various ways to group set cards. So this opens up, again, the doors to swift prototyping and design, despite not having a completed game, which is kind of what we're going to touch on today with Last Stand. Because it uses a standard deck of poker cards. So it's not like you need a specific deck or anything. You can kind of just run this if you have that, and if you have dice as well. They're usually like polyhedral dice sets. So if you have access to that, and even if you don't, you can go on platforms like we're going to be today with Tabletop Simulator and just kind of get those in an infinite amount of qualities. Infinite amount of qualities? What? No. Infinite amount of numbers, which is really nice for prototyping and quick improvements as well. So this is a major advantage of using cards as your game medium rather than a board. So with board games, more times than not, you don't really have that medium to substitute other like game components. as you'll have to create them yourself, right? Eventually, even if you do use like some substitute for now. But with cards, you're able to kind of take items like a standard deck of poker cards and kind of substitute their values and symbols, and their suits and whatnot to suit your needs. I just realized that was a unintentional pun, but to suit your needs, to what you want to accomplish. And this is done a lot of times as well. And games like, well, poker, right? They're all kind of categorized into those suits. Those suits mean stuff. Certain groupings also mean things. So very easy to kind of pick up and understand. So the next part about cards and platform studies is that the cards are spatial, meaning that they take up physical space in a given area. So some games take advantage of this in terms of what can be played. So, for example, like solitaire or bridge, while others use it as a means of constructing spaces in narratives. So take like Sushi Go and its use of the player area in which you play cards to. That narrative aspect of Sushi Go is, in game, it's your I guess your table, or like your area on the table that you eat the sushi, because it's a conveyor belt, supposed to replicate a conveyor belt sushi kind of style. So that your player area, which would, I guess in this image would be like what the cards are in front of you, would be your part of the table that you're taking all the dishes in and eating and whatnot. So there are narrative implications as well to that. In addition, it also allows for cards to act on behalf of non-game functions, such as name cards to designate a person near a certain place, or arranging tarot cards in a certain order, which determines the result of the reading. So, in context, when it comes to Last Stand, you'll see that we will use a lot of this spatial area, and it's very, very prevalent. It shows up a lot. So, from its use in determining where cards can be placed to how they are placed and how much space they take up. The placement cards kind of form our party as well and bring about a metaphorical narrative representation of fantasy, player characters, combat, war, and like teams or sides. So in all, cards create contained spaces with more mobility, modular capability, and metaphorical implications of in-game actions that its board game counterpart may lack in or kind of fail to create in a more intuitive and more streamlined way. So, before we get into too much, because usually with these game design showcases, I have to kind of get right into it because, again, as you can probably tell from now, there's a lot of content to get through. Got to showcase a full game of whatever well, not a full game, but depending on what it is, we got to showcase some game after this as well. So, but I don't usually like to go on for too long at a time. I like to take a little break. So we're gonna take a little break right now. Check in. How you guys doing? Hopefully you guys are enjoying your weeks so far. I've been personally myself, I've been actually before the stream started, I actually tuned into what was it, Kiara's, or not Kiara and Kiara's Holo Talk with Mume. It was really fun. Ended right, literally right before this stream started, which is really nice. I was worried because I think I remember seeing the time originally set to like 8 p.m. EDT. So I was really worried that, oh no, I'm not going to be able to catch it. But checked in just randomly. Just be like, okay, let's see when this thing starts. I was like, oh, nice. Started, I think, a few hours before. It was really nice. So yeah, hopefully you guys are having a good time. And of course, I'll announce again that I want to give more thoughts into what's been happening with the greater VTuber community and like Hololive and Gura and Mume graduating and all that. We will go over that, but early next week, when we do our Holo Marathon. Some of you might have already seen it with our have you been browsing the channel? You may have seen I've already posted the streams for that next week, so little sneak peek. Hopefully that goes well. But man, it's a really different time we're going into in these next few weeks. But I hope that wherever the talents go, whatever they do, if they end up streaming, if they end up not doing anything, taking a break for a good while, um, I hope whatever they do will be something that make them happy. But back to cards, back to our card game here in Game Design Showcase. Let's go through the next little bit about cards. So, this final aspect of cards is that they are inherently textural. So, many human-made goods or objects are kind of designed for particular uses. So for cards, this means again shuffling, dealing, cutting, fanning, folding, flipping, etc. All those kind of interactions that you would get out of a typical deck. The tactile feeling of holding cards and interacting with not only creates a physical connection between the player and the card, but also form meanings and associations in certain cards played or in hand. So, for example, think of like I don't know, like in TCG, like a leader card versus like minions or spell cards in hand. Another part about cards is that there is a digital side. So the thing about the digital is that when it comes to that side, texture is one of the hardest things to replicate because, of course, it's like that tactile feeling of it actually being in your hands. So the best a digital medium can do when it comes to recreating the more textural feel of holding cards in your hand is via the audios and the visuals and how it presents itself in game. So whether it be the actual designs of the card itself, whether it be more intricate to kind of create that sense of texture, or the sounds it makes when you draw a card, play, view a card, and all that. But ultimately, they're all just kind of abstractions of the real thing. It's important to note, though, that texture refines a card's character, so meaning that in touching a given card, it implies a sense of proximity and shared space. So separating cards from texture, then, would mean to fundamentally shift and reconfigure the way in which we naturally interact with its material form, which we'll kind of touch a bit about as we go into that in Tabletop Simulator. So, but to give an example, one TCG I've been playing, digital card game, which now also is a physical card game. So I guess there's that, but it used to be originally Shadowverse was a digital card game. I believe they are gonna have. I think they had a release date recently for their second game, Worlds Beyond. So, but when that comes out, we might pop on stream here. I don't know. We might pop on stream to talk about that, to see that the release. I do have it pre-saved, so hopefully, fingers crossed that we get to do that and have the time to stream for that. So I would love. Oh my gosh, I would love to stream for that. I've been following Shadowverse for like how long now? It's been on and off for like 4 or 5 years at this point. It was around the time like Myth debuted because I remember them doing like a buddy system with Mori and Kiara back in the day. They did like a what did they call it? Like a buddy system stream or something like that, where they brought on creators to kind of play Shadowverse to promote the game and whatnot, but also to do little segments, like perhaps like I think I remember one of them was like, if you were a leader, what would like X voice line be like for you, or like what would your greeting voice line be, or something. Little fun little bits between like that, and little banter and what have you. But back then I knew absolutely nothing about the game. I'm really into it now. Haven't been really following the first game, only because I'm kind of waiting for the second game. Like at this point, even though they have like throwback rotation, I'd rather just wait for the second game to release, which is coming soon. It's like what, June 17th, I believe. So I'm really hyped for that. But when it does come out, it seems like it's gonna be like a bridge between, what used to be with the old game and then the physical game as well. Kind of bridge together a bunch of new players and hopefully expand the IP and bring some more life back into the IP, because honestly at this point it's almost dead. I'm not gonna lie. I tried to like reach out to people in my community, being like, "Oh man, have you heard about Shadowverse?" And like the people I do find that know about Shadowverse are like, "Oh yeah, I know about it, but I don't play it anymore. It's been like a good few years." I'm like, what? They've said at least like 2-3 years since they play the game, so it's like, ooh, I don't know about that. The game's pretty shifted since that, but that's besides the point. What I want to kind of focus on with Shadowverse here is that this loss in texture that we get when we take a physical game and translate it to digital. Of course, with Last Stand, I had actually prototyped it and like made it in like a physical sense, because I have a few like polyhedral dice sets. And if you don't know what that is basically just like, we'll cover it in a little bit, but essentially what that is like a set of dice. You have your standard like D6, six-sided die. You have like a four-sided, 8, 10, 12, and I believe 20. That's pretty much the standard. So it comes in a little set like that. Usually for like role-playing games or tabletop role-playing games and stuff, usually would have a full set like that. Otherwise, there's not really much point in getting something like that. But I've got a few dice sets, so it's just like, you know what? Let's make a game out of this. So I will say also, Last Stand was kind of like a. Should I say it now? Actually, you know what? I'm gonna hold off on that. We'll come back to that as we showcase the game. But games like Shadowverse demonstrate this separation in the digitization of its gameplay. So because we as players aren't interacting with physical cards, we lose the ability and feeling of texture, as I said. So to compensate for this, again, it's just more about like creating that experience to most closely translate or most closely like represent what we get in real life with holding a card. So this can come in the form again of sounds, to card design, to player interactions and UI, and even the way like you interact with your in-game quote unquote hand and other game components. So I know I don't remember actually. I haven't paid too much attention, which is why I was like, when you look at card games like this, it's always fun to like pay attention closely to like the different details, because things like sound design you may not always pay attention to unless you're really focused on that aspect of it. But I always say like a good, a game or like certain medium that has sound, um, that sound design is good when you don't notice it, because if it's noticeable, then there's the problem, because that's kind of like a something in the background, right? You don't want to necessarily focus too much initially on that. You want to focus on whatever the rest of the game is. But then again, like sometimes the game does that intentionally. Sometimes it doesn't, but very interesting. I don't remember if Shadowverse has a sound for picking up cards, because I know they have sounds for like literally everything. They have voice lines for when you play the cards down. They have like sounds even when you like interact with buttons like this to end your turn. They have a whole like animation and sound pop up that comes up. Um, they might also have a sound for when you like try to look at the cards in your hand, maybe. But again, I'm not too sure. I haven't played it in a while, so I guess we'll see with the new game what they do. But otherwise, if you're interested though in taking a look at Alcise's article and like the full details of what he's saying about this, because I'm just kind of abbreviating here and also inserting my little tidbits as well. If you want to take a look at the full thing, again, our slides are linked. I'm actually linked the slides. Hold up, that's a smart idea. I actually might link the slides right now in chat for all of you, which I will do. That's probably the smartest thing to do here. Okay, let's link the stuff in chat. Okay, Twitch folks, you guys are getting the link first. All right. Yeah. So if you guys want to check the slides out, I've linked in the chat. It's basically linked everywhere, so just it should be pretty easy to find. But again, if you want to take a look at the article itself, we can go into this. You can see that it's clickable. This is his article. It is a bit old. It's from 2014, but I still feel because cards haven't really changed too much in the way they're laid out, and the properties that we talked about haven't really shifted too much. Um, so I think it's still pretty relevant. They kind of go into a bit about the history of cards and like stuff with Magic as well, and how they revolutionized the kind of mechanics and understanding of how we use cards, which is really nice. Again, it'll touch on certain aspects like that. So if you're interested to learn a bit more outside of the stream and a bit about game design, feel free to take a look at that article. You can also kind of click the images usually as well to see that. But yeah, we were talking about tabletop tavern. We were talking about tabletop simulator um, a little bit ago, and how that design aspect of losing that digitization, or what losing the textural side of it when you translate it to digital, is something that happens. But I want to also focus on how you can use tabletop simulator as a prototyping tool and rapid like designing tool as well. So again, we touched previously about this and how it's used for like rapid prototyping and a great way to test game ideas. As it relates to cards, though, in translating a physical game to digital, we kind of lose that textural element and sometimes the spatial elements as well, depending on how you lay out the game. But today we'll see firsthand digital what digital mediums like tabletop simulator do to overcome that, or the yeah, overcome the lack of those components there. We'll also kind of analyze how the tools it uses to create allowances for narrative structures and fill in spatial gaps that come with the translation of physical games to digital. Um, so yeah, that's also just something to keep in mind as we keep going. And if you want to see a more in-depth insight into tabletop tavern, bro, my English is not working today. Tabletop simulator, my goodness. Uh, tabletop simulator. I believe. What day was it? What? Yes, it was day 3 of our game design showcase. That we go a bit. Was it day 3? Ooh. No, it wasn't day 3. I'm just trying to find which day it was that we talked about prototyping. Let's see here. Okay, if it was day 1, I'm actually gonna. No, it wasn't day 1. Okay, day 2. I've literally gone through all the days at this point. Yep, day 2. Okay, so if you want to take a more in-depth look at what we talk about when with prototyping and all that with Tabletop Simulator, feel free to take a look at day 2. Either if you're more of a visual person, take a look at the slides, or if you want, both the audio and visual, we got the stream up as well, in the channel on YouTube. Um, but yeah, we just talk a bit more in depth about all that game design stuff. So tools like Tabletop Simulator also allow users to make quick use of its easy and iterative design loop by allowing players to interact with game components directly and shifting or affecting their states, values, size, location, direction, and and more with just a few button clicks, which I find is always really nice, especially with Tabletop Simulator. I'm not gonna get that wrong this time. Tabletop Simulator, because imagine if you have if this is a physical thing, physical card game, and you're trying to rapidly prototype a game, but you realize, oh, my cards might be too small, or maybe this card text is too small. You can just adjust that digitally, and then it would be reflected into Tabletop Simulator, right? Or for more simple things, like if you want your cards to just be a tiny bit bigger, you want to scale them up a little bit, you can just do that directly in the software. You don't have to, go about printing another set of cards or those specific cards again, just so you can get them sized up, and maybe it doesn't even work. So it's always nice to have the sort of digital mediums. It just makes everything a bit more easier, saves a ton of time, I've found. And yeah, so our goal when we look at Last Stand today will then be to make use of these tools and iterate on our designs as we play through a game, and keep going through that iterative design process until we reach a final product that we're proud to bring into the next stage of development. And what I might mean by that is that I probably will eventually, I don't know if I'm going to do this on stream or in my own time. And if you guys are interested, just kind of see that process of taking the substitutes of poke cards and kind of making it actually into a full-blown game. Um, Again, I don't know necessarily which direction I want to take with all this just yet. So, and if you guys would be interested, but if you are, please let me know. I would love to work more on this on stream. I honestly love anything with like game design stuff. I'm kind of a lot of my content recently has been just game design stuff because that's my hobby. I love that sort of stuff. Playing games, making games, what have you. It's always nice. Stretches that creative muscle, but also gets you to think about the theories and whatnot, which I find always interesting. So again, if we have time, I will look over another tool that we covered in day 2, which is Dexterous. It's what you're seeing here. This is, again, if you click this, this is linked to some. This is not my photo. There's someone else. This user here on Reddit made this in Dexterous, and essentially, what it is a prototyping tool. I think mainly for card games, or at least that's what a lot of people use it for. I know that it probably supports prototyping for board games, but again, they have like these sort of templates and design layouts that you can use for all your games and stuff. So if we think of bringing Last Stand into like a more polished professional look, then we might actually use Dexterous, or I might show you guys today on stream. Again, if we have time, but honestly, I might with I'm just trying to think with other games that we've talked about or designed in on stream. Again, we could just showcase this stuff. So yeah, hopefully that would be something you guys are interested. Do let me know. I would love to stream that stuff. Okay. Well, I think it's a good point to kind of take another break because we're gonna go into the elements of RPG based card games. Which we're gonna talk more about dice. We're gonna talk about dice and role playing. So we're gonna take a little breather here because I've been rambling for a little bit for a good little while. So let's head back to the chatting screen. I'm just gonna here chatting screen. We'll take a little break and then come back into it because I don't want to take too long on this. Alrighty, welcome to my my crib, MTV Cribs. No, welcome back. This is my little workspace. Very nice. Been showing this off previous streams because I don't think I've been able to highlight it as much. Really nice. But yeah, we're gonna take a little break, but mostly for me to take a little hydration break, hydration check, chat. For those of you watching, a little hydration check for all. Oh my gosh, my model I just realized that my model just kind of broke when I put this up against. Wait a minute, hold up. I always love messing around with the model because it's like the tracking and whatnot. Nice. But yeah, take a little hydration check, you guys. I know I'm parched. Enjoy some music while we're here. I'm gonna turn this up a little bit. Yeah, again, I hope all of you are having a good day so far. Or a good night, I guess. What have you guys been up to? Let me know. Also, feel free to let me know as well, like what kind of content you guys want to see on the channel. I probably won't be able to do much streaming stuff after next week. But I can probably do some video stuff. So if you guys are interested for me to do any like reaction content or anything like that, feel free to let me know. I mainly kind of work in the like game design kind of that area when it comes to my streams, at least. I still do like gaming stuff. Like I look at a bunch of like indie games. I look at like bigger title games and whatnot. But the main focus of the channel is to like do game design stuff. yeah, game design things and just game content, I guess, in general. Personally, I haven't seen much like YouTubers that do game design stuff. Like I know there's some out, there are probably some out there because honestly, there's so many VTubers now that it's insane. Um, but I'm pretty sure there's got to be like some other folks that do like game design stuff like I do. I don't know if they design their own games, or they probably would look into game design. I don't know, or like they would probably look into like the other day we were just doing a TTRPG kind of designing stream. There might be people who like, well, there obviously are people that like actually play those TTRPGs, but I'm wondering if there's any that like actually design it on stream. That could be interesting. I don't know. Alrighty, I think taking a little break. Again, I don't want to take up too much time because we still gotta showcase a game here, and I haven't really tested a full game yet necessarily, with like iterations between. So I honestly don't know how long it's gonna take for us to get through everything. So let's head back to the game design showcase slides, shall we? Alrighty. Welcome back, inventors, to the slides here. So let's talk a bit about RPG-based card games and dice now, as it relates to cards. So, first of all, what is an RPG? Well, an RPG is a game genre, otherwise known as role-playing games, that are titles in which each player or participant assumes the role of a given character, interacting with the game's imaginary world. While many games under this category are set to fantasy or science fiction environments, there are others that draw on other fictional environments to build the worlds. So, for example, I mean, I guess ours, the one that we're working on right now, also kind of falls under fiction, like fictional elements or fantasy elements. But it's not like pure fantasy or anything. It's more like steampunk aesthetic, mixed with elements of fantasy as well. Mm. Generally, though, these games with the RPG title have some sort of progressive storyline and central quest for players to complete. There also may be like additional side quests or other missions that add that layer of depth and story, settings, characters, and overall gameplay. So to kind of go into a little bit, a brief history, very brief, a little nugget of history when it comes to game design or not game design, when it comes to the RPG genre. So much of modern day RPG, or otherwise known as TTRPGs, which I mentioned before, they stand for tabletop role-playing games, can be attributed to American game designers. I'm sorry, I'm gonna probably butcher their last names, but Ernest, I want to say Jax, and David Arneson, in the creation of Dungeons and Dragons back in 1974. But now, of course, it's way more popular than that. We've got 5 editions or 5 versions, I guess, of is it 5 versions? Yeah, I think so. More than 5 versions, probably at this point of Dungeons and Dragons. It's gone through many iterations over the years since its creation, but since then, the fantasy tabletop role-playing genre has grown into great popularity and following, and has inspired countless of films, genres, TV shows, and other tabletop role-playing games. I know one of the main inspirations for like, I believe Lord of the Rings was Dungeons and Dragons. I believe same thing for Magic as well, which is another really old card game that goes back a good few years. So it's always nice to kind of see where the origins come from, so then you can not only pay respects to that in your own game design, but also just kind of, it's always nice to like see where things come from. It's a lot of humble beginnings and usually just a bunch of friends and whatnot. At least in this case, a bunch of friends trying to create something fun. So as that relates to our showcase game today, while I'm strict on the exploration side of the world, of a world, it does kind of draw on the same principles when it comes to RPGs. So like taking on the role of a character, for example, we'll be taking on the role of hero and villain, as well as taking on certain roles within our party as well. So now let's talk about dice. We were talking about these polyhedral dice here. So this is what I mean by the dice set. You got your D6, D8, D4, D20, 12, and 10. Or if you have another kind of these dice, it's usually like a percentile dice as well, is included in this. So yeah, I usually have that sort of stuff as well in the dice set. But otherwise, you would have these like standard, D6s that we know. So first of all, to get a little history in like dice and their function. Typically, dice are small objects, as I said, polyhedrons that are used in playing social games that require instances of chance or randomness. So the most common form of this, as I said, is the D6, a square dice with the number 1 through 6 marks on its faces. When it comes to RPGs, you'll usually... Oh gosh, I'm slurring my words together. Slow down, Wilson. Oh my goodness. Slow down, buddy. See, that's the thing about us people in the realm of Sky. We like to talk fast. Gotta get a lot done. Ooh. All right. Ooh, breathe. Gotta take a breathe. An actual physical breath. I don't know if you guys have to do that sometimes when you speak to other people. Please don't want to just be me, because this is gonna be really awkward if it is. But sometimes when I'm speaking to other people, I have to remember to like take a breath, take a moment just to breathe, because either I'm like really enthralled in that moment and I want to like talk more on, on things I love or whatever. But then I forget to take that pause and be like, I won't obviously go like, like taking a full big breath, but I'll probably like have a really awkward, really unnatural pause in the middle of a sentence or something. To just take that breather, or like it'll start to sound like as I keep going, like I'm running out of breath, just because I'm using that one single breath, or like two breaths, gonna say everything, which is probably not gonna happen. But hey, what can you do when you're excited about something? You'll talk about faster, you'll expel more air. But when it comes to RPGs, you'll usually find dice that have many shapes and sizes, as we said here, ranging from 4 sides to 8 to 10 to 12 and 20 and more. So there are, like, as I said, with percentile dice, which are basically, how would I describe it? It's like essentially the same thing as a D10, but it has 2 numbers on it instead on one of these sides. That kind of will help you create numbers from 1 to 100. And so, of course, you can add like more dice as well. I've seen like actual D100s where like it's a huge single die, not like two of these dies. Because usually when you roll for D100, you have like you use your D10 and the percentile. The percentile dice to like determine, I think, the tens place, and then this to determine the singles. But you roll both of them and you kind of compare the outcome. You can determine what number it is. But I've seen like huge like D20s, or sorry, D100s. They're literally like they're basically they're basically like spheres with 100 different sides, not 100 different sides. Well, yeah, 100 sides, but like markings for like the numbers 1 to 100 all over them. So then when you roll, it's like a huge ball that just gets rolled. I don't know. I just find that kind of funny. I would like to own one of those one day, just for the lulz. Just be like, hey, you want to roll D100? Bam! There, there it is. But a little bit on the history of dice. Being one of the oldest gaming implements known to man, its origins date back all the way to the Greeks and has as far back as 3100 BCE in ancient hieroglyphics. It wasn't until around 2600 BCE, with the creation of the royal game of that more modern dice started to appear on the scene. And if you guys want to know a bit more about this game and what this is, and see how the earliest board games history was played, as well as their use of those pyramid-shaped D4s, you can check out this video here posted by the British Museum, where they brought on Tom Scott. I think I want to say retired from what he's doing right now. He might, I don't know if he said he might be active or not. But yeah, he did in this older video. He did play the game with this guy over here. One of the people from, I want to say from the channel, or either like a, forgetting the title here, but one of the people at the museum, showing the Royal Game of Ur. I think that's how it's pronounced. But I personally found this really interesting. I found it all the way, well, I guess around the time it was posted, or I think at some point when I was watching like Tom Scott videos, and then I see this, I'm like, ooh, what is this? I haven't seen this game before. It's a very, I think from what I remember, it kind of plays like I'm trying to remember what it plays like. It's like I want to say it kind of plays like shoot, how do you pronounce it? Like, is it backgammon? Backgammon or something like that? I think it sort of plays like that. Like you roll dice and then you move along these squares in a specific way. And I think the goal is to like either get to the other end, or get to the like I think this end, and block your opponents from moving, or something else entirely. Honestly, I'd have to watch back that video again. But if you are interested in, I don't know why I said "you're" like that. You're if sorry, I can't get over the fact that I said "you're" like that. What's happening to my speech, man? Um, if you're interested in in checking out this game here, one of the first board games in history, feel free to check it out. This video, I find it very entertaining. And if you want a more deep, in-depth look into the actual history of dice and how it came to be, because I really had to be super brief with a lot of this because I want to get into the actual showcase of everything. So again, there's a video here by Q Workshop, pretty recent. I think it's only a year old, so it's not that bad in terms of explaining the history of dice. Very informative, very information condensed, but it's pretty good video. So again, you can click the links here or click the images here just to send you to that video. Okay, last little bit we're going to talk about before we take a look finally at Last Stand is the significance of dice in card and board gaming. So in the context of card gaming, dice aren't used as much as a core like mechanic. Unlike its board game counterparts, for the most part, you'll see them being used as trackers for health or some other numerical value, like we're going to be using today. However, just because it isn't standard doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Card games here, like to the left, here to slay, are use this dice for all like character ability rolls, as well as when defeating monsters, and to add like a level of variability and randomness, which I always find really great, because when I'm looking at investing in card or board games, I always look for that replay value, and I guess it always comes down to the sense of like, does it have a sense of, or sense? Does it have like an aspect of randomness to it, right? Because that always brings me back, because it's like not one game is gonna be the same from the rest, and the way you like, at least in this game, the way you interact and play with other players aren't gonna be the same. Like your player dynamics aren't gonna be the same, and even if you play with like the same group of people every time, like there are a bunch of classes that you can play from. There are also like, because of the dice, it makes it so like every outcome is different from all the other games or other games you might run with that group. So again, a lot of replay value on this. Really fun game. Really recommend checking that out. I've had a lot of chaotic and fun times with this game. I remember the first times me and a group of friends ran this game. it took us forever because at the end, what usually ends up happening, is that people like kind of like counter whatever or try to counter what like other people are doing. So draw if you're playing with the max player count, which I think is 6. I want to say there's 3, yeah 6, um 5 or 6. It just it just becomes this stall battle of just like, okay, let's delay this player from doing this, or like stop and try to prevent the player from doing this, um decrease the stats for this thing. So it's really fun. It's really simple to learn. It's one of those games that's like simple to learn but hard to master, so recommend this. So as we'll see with Last Stand, not only are dice going to be used for this same purpose, but we're also going to be kind of using it to track health points, skill effects, damage dealt, and perhaps some more. I don't know. We'll kind of see as we go. That being said, we're finally, inventors, we're finally getting into the design part of it. So without further ado, let's get into Last Stand here with Tabletop Simulator. But just as a little prelude for what the actual game is, I kind of mentioned it in the beginning of the stream, but I just want to reiterate again on what it is. Last Stand is a game designed by me, a strategy card game, 2-player strategy card game with role-playing and dice elements, where you play as either a hero or villain as you try to bring each other's HP down to 0 with your given parties. So played with only a standard poker deck and some dice, this game is highly accessible and meant to be a simple take on the modern strategy card games on the market. And you'll note that a few game design showcases ago, actually, oh, not a few, one day ago, one game showcase day ago, which actually, in the context of all the streams, was a while ago. But on day 4 of our game design showcase, we looked at V Card here, the trading card game between Shia Lily and Gamer Subs that they collabed to make, and how, if you remember anything from that, you'll recall that the main flaw in the system was the initial like player loop, and as well as player interactions that lacked that sense of depth and were kind of felt unmotivated in certain points. We touched on how important iterating on designs and playtesting was. So hopefully, as we get into Last Stand, we don't encounter the same problems and we can play through the game and continue to find improvements along the way. Though I will say, I've heard that the rules for VCard have been updated since last we saw. So who knows? It may have been improved. We'll have to see. But honestly, my guess, probably not too much, because there's a lot of clarification problems with that game in terms of rules and whatnot. And personally, I don't know if the prize pool mechanic is still a thing that they're doing, but personally, I don't really like that mechanic too much, because it's like you work so hard to get these cards and then you just lose them via the prize pool. Like, that would be so devastating. Which is probably why we don't see a lot of trading card games with that anymore. But yeah, it's gaming time, folks. So let's take a look at Last Stand here and take a look at how it's played. So this is the rule sheet. I'm not gonna read over everything. We're gonna kind of briefly look over things as we go into it. But I have the basic setups laid out here. You see, I took some pictures here of what it should look like with my own set at home, and then as well as what you can do on your turn. We'll take a look more in depth as we go into the game. First turns, how that works, little clarifications. I did do some initial like iterations on this. I think I can say it now, but my goodness, when I was starting to design, this was something that I designed like, it's one of those like 2 a.m. thoughts kind of thing. It was like 2 a.m. I was like, I don't know what I was doing. I think I was like watching someone stream around that time, because I had nothing better to do, and I didn't have like any obligations. I think it was a weekend, so I was like, you know what, I can sleep a bit later than usual, and ended up designing this game because I remember watching a video on, I don't remember what the name of the game was, but it was essentially a solo like dungeon crawling game, just with a deck of poker cards, which kind of inspired this. was like, you know what if I kind of flesh out that idea and kind of make it my own? Or at least that wasn't the original idea. The original intent behind it was like, okay, what if I add like some additional stuff to it and it just kind of became its own thing? So it was just like, you know what, let's do this. Let's just like make our own thing with this. And the whole document here was just made like the morning after. So it might be there might be some grammatical errors and whatnot because I did make this on like very little sleep. So we'll see how this plays out. But again, you have a party in this game that you'll pin against the other player. There are different card types here, all based within like the kind of typical fantasy trope TTRPG stuff. I kind of based the classes here on based on like D&D stuff because I didn't want to like make my own titles for this because I wanted something fast and quick. So they're all represented by different symbols that we'll go over. They all have their own different abilities and what they can do, different skills that they can roll as well. There's all the stuff for the other cards. There's a tapping mechanic here as well that we'll touch on as we play through the game. Leveling up as well. So this is kind of like my take on a simpler, I wouldn't call it dungeon crawling because it's not dungeon crawling, but like a D&D inspired, I guess, TTRP or D&D inspired strategy card game. I don't know, something like that. Again, I don't think I'm probably not gonna like publish this, but because then I have to get rid of all the titles and stuff because it's stuff people know about this from like D&D and whatnot. So I can't take this exactly, but I can probably modify everything because it kind of is its own game and how it works. There's summoning stuff that you can do. Again, more clarifications here. And a bit about spell cards as well that we'll look at. And then, of course, the Joker card and what that means in a game. Because usually with a typical standard deck of poker cards, you'll have like a Joker card as well. So you can use that within your game as well. That being said, Inventors, let's head into our game showcase. All right, just give me a little bit. We're gonna switch over to Tabletop Simulator now. All right, I'll see you guys in a little bit. BRB. Alrighty, welcome everybody to Tabletop Simulator. This is Last Stand. Do let me know if the audio is too loud because I can change that. Let me just bring up the chat here so I can see you guys. Yeah, do let me know if the music's way too loud. I actually might turn it down a bit right now. Yeah, there we go. Turn down a tiny bit. Not too much because we still want some audio in this. But yeah, welcome to Tabletop Simulator. This is Last Stand. I've taken the time to kind of learn a bit about Tabletop Simulator and whatnot, because I did just recently get this, and I'm honestly super psyched because it's such a great tool for prototyping and whatnot, and getting your ideas out there, especially if you use it in combination with Dexterous. I've done that for previous games, and it's just, oh, it's amazing. It's so good, because you just are able to make games so much faster than you would be if you were doing like, physically going through that process. But let's go through a bit about the game. So everything's already set up the way it probably should be. The only caveat that I probably will have to do throughout the stream is because I can't interact physically. Again, we come back to that textural element. Because you can't actually interact with the cards as you would in real life, we lose on that textural side, but they make up with all these tools that they have at the side here. One being the anchored points, little like magnetic points and snap tools that you can use in this game. But that also means I have to manually, I haven't put them on every card yet, so I have to manually, unfortunately, I have to manually put them on certain cards. So we'll see how that works. There we have some dice sets here as well as health trackers or status markers. Each player, basically how this works, if we just bring up the pop-out view here. So yeah, in this game you play as either a hero or villain. as you face off against each other to claim victory. You will each have a party that can help you out with each a different class and abilities, as well as spell cards you may use to boost your skills. So again, the objective is to bring the other player down to 0 health. And we can skip this setup because it's already done. But essentially, there's two sides. This is the hero side that we're on right now. The hero will have 30 cards in their main deck. Ooh, what the heck? Okay, hold up. The hero will have 30 cards in their main deck. Their health set to 20, whereas the villain here, if you're playing on the other side of this, they only have 24 cards. And setup again is in here. I will, you know what I'll do? I'll post, maybe I'll post a link to this after the stream if you guys are interested. Or once we iterate through everything. But yeah, if you guys are interested in checking out the game, let me know and I can post it in chat or even on Twitter after the stream. So you guys can try it out for yourselves, you know? If you have Tabletop Simulator, if you have, you know, a physical poker deck at home, and you also have dice like this, then this is perfect. So yeah, the villain starts with 24 cards, but because they have so less cards, they start with 40 health here, which is marked by these D10s here. And then this is your play space. So we have our party will go here, spells will go here. This is also a spell slot here. This is like a status tracker thing. We have what's called your magic gathering tile, which will come into play later. A lot of the game is centered around dice, because I love dice. Who doesn't love dice? If you don't love dice, what's going on with you? Dice are amazing. I love the variability of dice. Yeah, we got some calculators here to track any calculations, a notepad, you know, a coin to help us determine who goes first, last. But essentially, let's go over here what you can do on your turn. So, I guess since this is, we can also take a look at the last few steps of setup here, because we haven't fully set up the game yet. So let's see, where are we here? We're at the villain deck. Okay, so we've created the deck. Step 7 here. Reveal the top 3 cards from the villain deck and place them face up on the right of their deck in a straight line to form the party. Now shuffle the villain deck. Okay. I'm gonna do a search here. So essentially, I don't think it said in the rules. I might have to look back on previous steps in that setup, but essentially your first pick, this is the deck that you get, and these are all like randomly shuffled every game. But for Tabletop Simulator purposes, we kind of have the same deck layout for the whole thing. But usually what would happen in person, you shuffle the whole deck each time. So then every time what you have in your party is different, hopefully. Again, you could get copies of the same thing, but what we want to do, we've taken out the face cards. So the villains will always get all the red face cards here. So you see there's king, got the jack, we got another jack here, we got a queen, we got a king, queen again. And if they get any other like typing face cards, like that's just because we shuffled it in. But also they will guarantee get an ace of diamonds here as well. All of these symbols mean a different thing. All of these suits, sorry, mean a different thing. So the hearts, they are our healer or clerics. Our diamonds are, I believe, let's just see here. Our diamonds are our there we go. Diamonds are our barbarians, so they'll be able to deal a ton of damage. They're remain attackers, and then clerics, as we said, are our healers. Wizards are like utility class, and then we have paladins, which are mainly for defense there. So I'm just gonna go through the initial setup here. We're gonna take out the first 3, the top 3 face cards that we see, place them onto their respective areas, and then we will shuffle the deck real quick. Do it a few times. Let's flip this over and put it in. that will make up the villain starting area. And then we have to look at our area here. So I'm just going to give our deck a good shuffle. And then for us heroes, we're going to just reveal the first four. Again, because we have more cards, we're going to reveal. Ooh, that's not good. Okay, so a bit explanation on all the elements of the game without having to, read word for word what everything means. In addition to whatever class, there's also the values at the top of the cards, which indicate health points. So, as you can see, I didn't really get a good spread here because we have very small bodies right now. A 2, 4, and a 6. Though we do have some variety. We have healers, we have healers, and we have the wizards as well. But with our face cards, you might be thinking, okay, well, does a king mean... Or sorry, does a jack mean like 12 health, and then anything above that it just scales up by 1 until we get to the last face card? Well, no, it becomes all the face cards and joker cards are considered 12 health. So that's kind of where all the health maxes out, because otherwise it'd be way too OP to have them like scale up to, I think it would be up to 13 or 14. Would be a bit too much health just to keep things balanced. So that's the initial setup there, and then we're going to also see the game setup. After we put the deck or the reveal the cards there, reveal top cards of the hero deck. See, this top 4 cards. Okay, hold up. Top 4 cards. There we go, like that. The hero deck. I would like to also, like, perhaps in the future collab with someone to test out this game and play it with me as well. But for the purposes of our stream today, we're probably just going to be demonstrating it like this. Because we are going to have to still make some iterations probably. We might encounter some low things. But yeah, so take the info cards. Okay, so info cards here just are mana gathering tile, or generation tile as it's called, which is this thing. And how that will work basically is a lot of so each card will have 2 slots of abilities. So they have a main ability, they have a main ability and a secondary ability. So think of each of these guys, each of the cards as a member of our party. So this is a wizard, this is a wizard, these are clerics, right? They all have abilities that they're able to do, a main one and a secondary, but they all require having mana, which are represented by our dice here, in order to do said thing. So eventually we'll bring in dice as we go here, and then we will kind of be cycling through, or maybe adding more dice into our pool here that will be loaded into this area here, and then later loaded to our magic gathering tile, or mana gathering tile, sorry, and into our hands. But I guess in this case, since it's digital, again, we lose that textural feeling, this time not only of the cards, but of the dice as well, and having to roll that, and holding the dice in our hands as well. So hopefully we'll find a way to translate that well, but otherwise that's just how it's going to work with the digitalization of things. Yeah, let me turn up the music real quick. Get some beats in here. Alright, so after we have done that initial setup there, what do we do now? So determine the villain, starting health points. Yeah, so health points, give the members of your party corresponding dice, and then place the dice. Remove dice out of play. Okay. So our next step then will be to... Our next step here will be then to determine our starting dice. So each class will have a certain starting dices in their main and secondary slots, which I'll show you how that works right now. So if you look at the hero side with they have wizards and they have clerics. So we had to get 2d6s or 1d6 and 1d4 for the wizards, and 1d6 and 1d4. Okay, for the clerics. All right, cool. Let's get that out here. So these will. I've made it so that if you view the points here, it kind of snaps to all the cards. I'm also realizing though that these cards don't have snapping, so we need to actually incorporate that into the cards so we don't forget. Because that's the only thing I kind of find a bit annoying about bringing this into digital. Because in physical, you can just place them on the cards, right? But in here, you actually have to tell the system to be like, "Oh, hey, place them on the cards in this way." It's kind of annoying, but it is what it is. 1, 2. Okay, that should work there. Need to lock these. Okay. Oh, and there's got the Joker here as well. I'm just gonna unlock these so we can move them around. The reason you gotta lock this because otherwise it's gonna lock to the points are gonna snap to the table, which is unfortunate, but how this is. I've been trying to find like tutorials for this tabletop simulator, but it's been like either super old videos or just information that's not like correct anymore, given everything. So, alrighty, I gotta check again what dice we gotta use. Let's see. Gotta use. Okay, so we have d6s and d4s. Okay, main slots 56. Grab these. And D4s here. So again, you can see physical. You know, if you were doing this actually in real life, like you would just place these on the cards, and then you don't have to worry about snapping them or anything like that. The grid. But because we're playing digital, there is that annoyance there, but all right. Oh shoot, wait. Oh, that is correct. So we are looking at different classes here. We have barbarians and we have healers. So we know what our healers get, our clerics. So let's snap that to body. Also, the nice thing, as I mentioned before, with bringing it into digital is that if, let's say you run out of dice, you don't need to like buy new dice or anything, or you don't need to find means to substitute them. You could just make new dice, which is really nice. Which I found sometimes in person that it's kind of hard to do because it's only how much dice you have, or it's really limited by, you know, how much how much dice you have. So the gameplay really shifts depending on your dice availability. If you're like a a dice goblin, then you have like millions of, not millions, but they give you a good amount of dice, and you don't have to worry about running out, then it's perfect. Okay, so we have barbarian. So they have in the main slot they have a D8 and a D4. Okay. D8. Those are D8s. These D8s? No, these are D12s. D8s. I'm just gonna see. Where's the snapping of this card? I'm trying to put the dice on the right spots here. Alrighty, so we have D4s. and the 8. Okay, cool. Now unlock these cards before I forget. Alright, perfect. I think that's all the setup that we need to do. Of course, again, in real life, this would be way easier to set up quickly. Okay, so now we go into the game. So, like I said, each of these characters have their own abilities that we'll encounter as we play. But first, let's determine who goes first. So we're gonna do a little heads and tails here. We'll say hero is heads, and then we'll say villain is tails. Let's flip this. Yeah, that's very sad flip. Hold up. Very sad flip. Come on. It was I'm good. All right. So hero goes first then. You can use this to determine who goes first. We don't need this in like if you're playing actually with someone else, but just for our purposes, we're gonna use that to kind of track who goes first, because otherwise I'm probably gonna lose count. So once you determine who goes first, of course you can choose to activate their abilities. There are some rules though for the first few turns, because you don't already have dice in your dice pool, so it's kind of hard to cycle through dice that you don't have. So I'm just gonna look at quickly how this works. Because you start with no dice in your dice pool, you can't queue up anything to the mana gathering tile. All exhausted dice, which means any dice that are in your dice pool, even if used as a reaction to another player's action, which you can do in this game. So for example, if we take a quick look at the abilities here, we have any attackers? We don't have any attackers. Let's look at the villain side here and see. They have two, they have two barbarians. If we look at what barbarians can do here with their skills, they have a main skill that called Sword Slash, that can't be used as a reaction, but they can deal damage depending on what they roll. They have an Unarmed Punch that can be used as a reaction. That's their secondary skill to basically deal damage again. And then a Counter, which can only be used as a reaction. And basically, what does it say here? A target, including yourself, leader, or other character in your party, takes X damage less when being attacked. X equals the value rolled on the dice. This is a one-time use action. Any dice used get exhausted after the damage reduction is resolved. So yeah, basically what happened. You can use this as a reaction, even if the hero is going first. It's not like I do my stuff and then you do my yours back to me. Most characters will have reaction type abilities that they can do to kind of either help them as a character stay alive, or help your leader, I guess, help your leader stay alive as well. With that being said, let's take a quick look at what I can do here. I have 2 healers or 2 clerics and 2 wizards. Let's see what they can do. But first, let's finish reading what we can do on our first turns here. So go directly. Okay, so even if exhausted, go directly to your magic gathering tile or mana gathering tile queue. So the queue is like this spot here. It can hold up to 4 dice. So it's a max of 3 unless you conjure, unless you used conjure mana, which is an ability that the wizards have that we'll hopefully get to look at. Which its effect for its turn can only add dice to your dice pool. Yeah. So any remaining dice go into your dice pool. Each player, after each player has taken their first turns, resume play as normal. Okay. So the hero is starting. So let's. I'm gonna mark down here real quick on the description. Starting health. We don't need starting health for. Maybe just for record, starting HP at 40. We'll do the same here for our hero. Starting HP 20. Okay. Alright, so let's finally get into some gameplay here. So what can I do with my wizards? Let's take a look. Because I probably don't need healing right now. So let's take a look at what we can do with the wizards. Wizards are your utility class, so they have a ton of things that they can do. Oops. Okay, let's reload the page here. Yeah, they have a ton of things that they can do. So let's take a look at some of those things. We have your main skill, which is the D6 part, and then we have the secondary skill, which is the D4 part. So again, you always need dice to be able to do something. So if you have no dice on the cards itself, then you're not able to do anything or use the secondary or main abilities. So wizards are unique in that they have two main skills. So one of them being Fireball, the classic, cannot be used as a reaction, deal damage to any target equal to the value rolled on the dice. Or they have a Mage Shield, which cannot be used as a reaction, but you can roll the hit dice twice. So that's our value here. Roll the hit dice twice. So roll a d6 twice. Reduce damage taken to self by X amount over Y amount of turns, divided in half and rounded up to the nearest whole number. So X equals the higher roll, while Y equals the lower roll of the dice. So basically what that means is if we roll 2d6 right now and one of them is a 6, one of them is a 1, the X here would mean it's the higher roll. So you reduce damage taken to yourself, that character, by 6 points over 1 turn. So essentially when it comes back around to you, that would exhaust, and yeah, that would exhaust, and it would, all the dice used would go back into your dice pool. But it says here we indicate the duration with the temporary dice and damage amount with your hit dice. This does not count as temporary defense. It stays as consistent damage reduction until the duration hits 0. When it does, we remove temporary dice from play and exhaust your hit dice, which means to bring it back again into this dice pool here. Let's look at the secondary abilities that we have as our wizard. We have a Circle of Abundance. Hit dice is 1d4, may be used as a reaction. Look at X amount of cards from the top of your deck and choose one. You may play it as a spell, summon an ally, or boost to level up a character. X equals the value rolled on the dice. Shuffle the remaining cards into your deck. See spells, leveling up. Yeah, for more details. So this we'll go into more of that as we encounter it. So I won't go too much into detail on what that means right now. But another secondary skill, which I find pretty useful. I might have to change this up because it still seems a bit OP. Chad, if you guys have any suggestions on what we can do here about this, then feel free to let me know, because it's a bit it might be a bit OP. I'm just getting that initial feeling, but we'll read out what it says. So maybe use it as a reaction, add X amount of dice of any kind from the out of game dice pile. So that's everything on this side here. So again, if you had in the tabletop simulator, right? So it's always nice to have it in digital form, because I can just do this and like create more dice on the spot. Whereas if you were playing this in person, you're limited by just however many dice you have, right? So very, very convenient like that. But yeah, so add X amount of dice to any kind from the out of game dice pile into your unused dice pool, or directly into your MGT, so that it's either or here. So X equals up to the value rolled on dice. It also can be 0. And for the next turn, you're able to extend the max number of dice placed into your MGT by 1. Mark this with your hit dice. It exhausts once the counter reaches 0. You also may hold onto any number of dice until after you make all character actions. And why that's important is essentially the way that play resolves is that you will do abilities. So once we have dice in our pool, essentially turn before you queue up the dice that you want here. So let's say I used let's say I used one of my d6s, right? And I would have that queued up in my 3. This would, on the opponent's turn, would move into your Magic Gathering tile. So on your turn, you would claim it to your hand, and then you would place them to whatever character is able to receive that mana dice, and then anything else that you can't put in, you can either choose to summon another ally into your party. Of course, the max is being 5. But you can choose to summon another guy, or with just less things that they can do, or you return everything back to the dice pool. So what that ability that we just looked at does, that conjure mana, it allows you to wait a little bit until you put down your dice here. This is really useful if you want to chain attacks. If you have like a lot of, I don't know, if you had like one of these barbarians and it had a bunch of d8s, like extra d8s, you could essentially keep chaining it into the same guy and keep attacking with all that, which is really powerful. So utility class, don't wear it out. They're sometimes pretty weak though, as as wizards are. The whole meme about taking 1d4 damage of 1d4 of insert damage type here and then just falling to the ground. So there's still that possibility in this game. But yeah, you're able to extend the max number of dice placed into your MGT and then hold onto any number of dice until after you make all character actions. However, you must roll a hit dice again to determine how many turns after this skill is cast that all secondary skills will be disabled. So meaning that you can't use them. This is all secondary skills, so it's the first one and the second one. So that's the only drawback to that. A lot of the wizard's abilities will kind of have that hindrance on them, because otherwise they'd be way too OP. Yeah, that'd be way too OP for anyone. So that's the only hindrance. Sometimes you can sometimes you can get really unlucky and roll the max number of 4. It just happened to me a lot, and then you have to wait 4 turns before you can use any secondary abilities. So then your wizard becomes useless, and it's kind of just a useless meat shield. So, but you do gamble. There's a lot of gambling elements when it comes to the wizard, because you're trading off a bunch of things. You're manipulating the fabric of reality after all. So that's what they can do. And now let's look at what clerics can do. They're the main healers of the game. So they have a healing beam that just basically heals people, a potion of revival that does a tiny bit extra healing, a second wind, which can be used as a reaction to grant a target, including yourself, leader, or other character in your party, temporary HP equal to the value rolled on the dice. So this stays until the value hits 0. When attacked, you first take points off the temporary HP and then the main one. If the dice effect is from a removed character, remove the dice from play after exhaust. Otherwise, place it into your dice pool. So what this last line means is essentially sometimes you'll get cases where you had a cleric in your party, and then because of what the other player did on their turn, they will kill off the cleric, but their ability that what's it called again? The second wind ability is still active on one of the other people of your party, or of your leader here. So basically that just says once it's exhausted, do X thing. So this keeps track of all that. So let's go ahead, and I might have to refer to this a lot. Like even I don't have all the moves and stuff memorized. So let's take a look here and what we want to do. I think it's fitting that the first move that we do is a fireball from our wizard. Let's go ahead and roll fireball here. Okay, we've got a 3. Okay, so in this game there's kind of more leeway into how the order of moves and stuff. So I could just throw, if I know I want to do another fireball on this wizard, then I can just throw this again. But I kind of want to vary it up a little bit. So let's do 3 here. I don't want to necessarily attack any of these guys. You can see they're face cards, so they're all at 12 health, which is very, very scary for me for my party that I have now. And the opponent is at 40 health, so I think I'm gonna hit the opponent first. But again, they have those moments for reactions, so let's take a look at what they can possibly do to react. So they have a paladin. No, they don't have a paladin. They have barbarians, which have counter. So they can reduce damage here and then deal damage, but it doesn't negate the amount of damage that's done to them. So the question is, do they want to do that or not? See, this would usually be up to the other player to do. But again, this is just for demonstration purposes for a game design showcase. So for the purposes of the game and to keep it kind of simple, we'll say they don't do anything to react to that. Because, you know, I got 40 health, I'm not going to do anything. So we're going to hit them for 3 here. And then once the dice are exhausted, we will get to either, because it's the first few turns, again, because of this first few turns ruling, we're able to exhaust dice. Yeah, we can either choose to directly put it into our MGT tile or MGDQ. Oh no, wait, there's no or though. Never mind. They go directly once we've used them into the queue here, and then we'll turn this down to full value 37 here. I'm just gonna reset them. Did I not? Hold up. No, hold up. I need to reset these guys here. There we go. 37 health. Okay, so that's one of the skills we do. Let's I would demonstrate some healing, but there's nothing to really heal right now. I can do the temporary HP thing. But I think what I want to do with my other wizard is to put up a mage shield, I think it's called. Yeah, mage shield. So, roll hit dice twice, reduce damage. Yeah, this is the one where I have to disable it, right? No, that's the secondary ability. This is the main ability. Okay. So let's roll the hit dice twice here. Roll 2 and a 6. Okay, so the 6 means we reduce 6 damage to ourselves over the course of 2 turns. So, which indicate duration with temporary dice. Okay, let's grab a temporary dice here. I'm actually gonna, again, this is the great thing about tabletop simulators, you can just grab these. I'm gonna tint this to like a purple here. We'll put this to 6, then this to 2. So this. Oh dang, this song. It's kind of the energy we need right now. Hey. Okay, I'm getting too into the song. Okay. But yeah, this is going to show that, you know, we're able to block 6 damage over the course of 2 turns, and this will tick down slowly over time. And let's use a secondary ability of from the same wizard. Let's see. Let's show off Circle of Abundance here. So I roll a d4. Look at X amount of cards from the top of the deck and choose one. May play it as a spell. Some ally level up. Okay. Let's go ahead and roll that. Okay, we got a 1, so we are only able to look at 1 in the cards, which is kind of unfortunate, but this gets placed into our queue because it's the first turn. Let's flip this over. Okay, so we have a 7. Usually this would just go in your hand, but because I'm not playing with anyone else, I can just reveal this. We're a 7, okay. So we have a few choices here. We can scroll down here. We can play it as a spell. So pretend this is in my hand and it's only being able to show to me. Again, that one of those properties that we talked about cards, right? We call it the planar. Gosh, I'm forgetting my own terms here. Yeah, the planar property of playing cards. The idea that there are 2 sides to the cards, as we see here, so they can conceal and reveal identity. They conceal and reveal information. So again, we use that a lot here. So for spells specifically, what this means, we can basically put, if I want to use this as a spell, this would count as a health spell. So if I attach it to one of the allies here, let's say the wizard here, that means that anytime this wizard uses their ability, or another one uses it on them, we can choose to reveal this card, which in this case is just straight up 7 healing. If we put it into where our leader is, it's not character specific, so that means, because usually when you put it into these, it means that it has to be if this character, you know, is interacted with, then you can use it. But if you put it to your leader's one, then they can use it on basically anything. But we're gonna do, let's see, should we rotate again in this? There we go. You can also play it as a, let's see, you can play it as a summon of an ally. So what that basically means, when you summon an ally, you put it into an available slot here, and if you don't, then you just can't summon out any allies. But I would put this down, and then it would get the starting dice, whatever it is. So that's another way you can accumulate dice, in addition to conjuring mana from the wizard. But you can also, the last option is to level up your characters, I believe. I think that's the last thing that these guys can do with it. Yes, spell, summon, or level up. Yeah, so how the level up mechanic works is it has to be of the same class and of higher value than the one that you have right now. So for example, we can level up any of our healers right now with, yeah, we can level up any of our healers right now. The number here doesn't indicate what level, it just means that you just level up. Again, the number at the top just means the health. So it would get a little health boost. And every time a character levels up, we roll 1d4, 1 extra d4 right away. And then that counts as damage towards any opponent. But of course they can counter as well if they see fit. So, but it also usually bolsters up our character as well. And any aces that we have in our deck that we use to level up, and again, it has to be the same class and of higher health value than the one that we currently have in our party. So you just place it on top and become level up. If you get to an ace, that means it becomes max level, and it gets additional abilities. Usually those mean like removing all the caveats from whatever skills they have. So the wizards having to disable their secondary abilities, that wouldn't apply anymore. I have a whole list of what happens for that too. If I can find it. Here, okay. So yeah, depending on what class you've maxed your level up to, you'll get additional abilities. So if we leveled up our cleric to max, they have the ability to passively heal 1 HP to one given target for X amount of turns, which means the value of 1d4 rolled. So this does not count as a character action and can be used whenever the player wants, including on the other player's turn. Of course, they only get to do it once. Once per turn, I guess. If they see fit. So that being said, what are we gonna do here? I could put this as a spell. Again, this kind of works like Yu-Gi-Oh in a bit because you're concealing like my trap card, you know. Can you tell I haven't played Yu-Gi-Oh? But yeah, you have a card that's concealed here, so it prompts the other player to be like, oh, well, if I had something as well I could use, maybe I want to protect my own guys from this, or use it on my leader so that I can have access to it whenever, and perhaps use that as well. I think for the purposes of, oh, is it in our hand now? Yeah. For the purposes of this, you know what? I might actually do that. I'm actually use it as a spell here. And just wait for a higher level to level up. So we're gonna use it as a spell specifically on. I mean, I don't really care which healer dies, but maybe. Okay, maybe just so I have more choice, I'll just put it to my leader here. Gotta remember that's for 7 healing, and then we have an ability. We have a game mechanic here called tapping. So basically what that means is that whenever all of our mana dice on the card are exhausted, we rotate the card around to show. Not like this. We rotate the card around like this to show that it is nothing active. But in this case, we wouldn't do that because this ability is still active on this card. So later in the game, hopefully we'll be able to see paladins, which have a defense ability that can add to other either characters or your leader, and other like modifications that they can make as well. So that's when like this tapping would really help, because then you can be like, oh, okay, if it's up and there's no dice on it, that means that there's some ability that's happening right now that I had to keep track of. So let's see what else we can do. I can only go max up to 3 in here before I put into my dice pool here. So I think we'll do 1. Okay, I think I'll show off the circle of, no, what's it called? The conjure mana with this other wizard I have here. Let's see how that works. Okay, wizard, secondary skill 2, conjure mana. Okay, maybe use as the reaction, add X amount of dice. So we roll, okay, so we basically roll this. We add, okay, 2 dice of whatever kind that we want into here. Or, let's see, any kind from the out of game pile into your unused dice pool or directly into your MGT. X equals up to the value rolled on the dice. For the next turn, you're able to extend your max number of dice played by 1. We mark this with our hit dice. Okay, so let's do that. Let's get the dice that we want first. Another thing to keep in mind as well in this game, if you have extra dice when you get your dice from your mana gathering tile or mana generating tile, I think I said it was, you can also choose to summon allies into your party, but they will be of lesser being. I guess I'm pretty sure it's like one of their dice slots, either their main slot or the secondary slot, depending on what you want. You can choose. One of their dices will be put into, I believe, the dice pool, and then you'll get access to the main or secondary skill. That's just to make them a bit weaker because you aren't directly summoning them from the circle of abundance. Just so it balances out a tiny bit, so it's not too OP, because you could just leave extra dice and have like 0 members in your party and then summon a huge wave and get new dice or whatever. So let's see, 2 dice. I probably want in this way you can also force a summon as well. So I probably want an attacker, so I know that there's going to be I put this in my 3 here. So I know there's going to be attacker, and I know there's going to be, or actually, I might as well just put this directly. And I know there's going to be attacker needs a D4 as well. So we're going to grab one of those. Let's mark this as well. This is why we have this marker here. And we'll keep this up because it's activating this here. But this is one of the more complex skills, so it does take a little bit to understand. Let's see. For the next turn, able to extend the max number of dice placed into your MGT by 1. Yep. So I just say MGTQ. How do you spell Q? Is it Q-U-E-U-E? QE. By 1. Mark this with your hit dice. It exhausts once it reaches 0. Then we can hold on to however many dice, but we have to roll our hit dice again to determine how many turns our secondary abilities are going to be disabled. Okay, 2. That's not ideal. That's fine. We'll use this to keep track of that. Okay, I'll just put it on the card itself. Indicate 2, and then we will. Yeah. So now our Q's extended to 4. So if we want, we could put more dice there. So it's probably wise to just. Well, I can't use these dice in a way that's going to spend it because this is just healing that I can't do. So there's no point in doing that. And then I can do temporary healing, but that doesn't put it into my dice pool. So I think that means it's turn now, because I can't really do much else. So once turn ends, how it works is, I'm just going to double check with the rules here, so I'm not making things up on the spot. I do have this written down. Let's see, what's going on your turn? Okay, so we've used party abilities, used spells, tapped characters that we needed to select dice. So huge and you're okay. Yeah, so now from our dice pool, we would normally select what dice we want to put into our queue, and then it would move on to our opponent's turn. We'll go through, I guess, our opponent's turn, and then we will call it a stream. Maybe we'll go through one extra turn just to see the result of what could happen. So let's move over to the villain here. Ooh. Hold on, this song's kind of vibe right now. Kind of vibe. Alright, so let's go through our opponent's turn. So they didn't do anything. So they have full access to their dice right now. So they got a healer here that we've covered already, a cleric, and now let's see what the barbarian does. If that's a new class that we haven't encountered yet. So main skill, sword slash, basically dealing damage. Secondary skill 1, they can deal more damage, and then they have a counter. So again, main attacking class here. So let's use this D8 here to roll damage. Ooh, 4, nice. Okay, you can actually just take out that healer. I just realized. Oh dang, that's pretty good. Now this is where the reactions come into play. So I don't know. Can clerics use their temporary HP as the reaction thing? Let's see. Second wind, maybe use the reaction. Okay, yeah, perfect. Okay, so I guess they'll just have to hope that they can negate some of this damage here. See by how much? Ooh, 3. Okay, nice. So this only takes 1. So this guy only takes 1 point of damage. So this would be put into their queue now, because it reached a max. It has a max of 3. So once this fills up, this goes into the dice pool here. Okay, so that was only 1 point damage. So we'll use these guys to track damage. Then see this flips into that. Alrighty. So they're at 3 health, which is not great. I think this guy can take out that guy with the D8. So let's use the secondary ability. What's it called? Let's use an unarmed punch here to deal 1d4 damage to this guy, because now you can see the secondary ability usually is associated with reactions. So that means they're out of reaction, so they can't really do much unless they have, they have another healer here, so we can use their reaction to defend them. So I don't know. We'll see if they need to do that. Let's see. 1 point of damage. I say they won't for now. Only because they're at 2 health, and there's so much more damage that can be dealt here. So they deal 1 damage to that. This goes into their Q here. Change the value to 2. And now, because all you can see here, all the abilities are exhausted, nothing's active for this card, we will go ahead and flip that over. We'll tap it here to indicate that this card has, nothing in effect right now, and it needs dice to be put into it to activate anything. All right, let's continue with the damage here. Ooh, that was a large roll. 5. Okay, we can get rid of this guy. We'll do another unarmed punch here. Because the villain has so much health, they won't really care about at least in the beginning, they won't really care about countering. So that's 9 damage in total. So when you're dealing damage, you can choose to split it any which way. But I think, what do we do? 6, 7, 8. Okay, if we go all on this, this will turn into 1 damage. I'm trying to be as efficient as possible because we can't split up the damage from these dice even more. So it have to be either I go all in one attack or waste some damage essentially. But this says 4. I'd be overdoing it with this one and doing it with any other one. So I think to make it worth it, let's oh wait, no, this is, sorry, I was counting this as one thing. It's 6 damage, so is that even worth it? I think no, that's worth it, right? This is 9, this is 6. It's still enough to get rid of this guy. So let's do that actually. So we have 5. I'll just do, yeah, this is at 4. So we'll just do that. This gets gone. And we have a result of 3 damage there. This goes into their pool now. 3 damage hits that. This would go into the pool because you only get a max of 3 dice unless you extend it with the wizard's ability. And now this hero, this character is now defeated. So where did these guys go? I would personally put them in a different pile like this, because you are going to be able to use these later on with spells perhaps. So yeah, that guy is dead now. Usually when you look at like physical in-person games, I like to shift these cards physically, but obviously it's hard to do that on digital. So we'll just keep it as is. As much as I want to like fill in the card there right now. Also, I just realized I could have used my healing, but it's only max 2 health, so I can't really heal too much. I don't want to waste it. This is a 7 heal, so I might use it on my wizard here instead. So that taps this card. And we have our healer, so actually we've taken damage, so let's go ahead and try to heal here with a little dice. Okay, 4, perfect. That's gonna overdo it, but that will bring us back to 40 health. We'll go. So now the villain's turn is up. So let's move this back over to the hero here. And now this is the fun part. Oh wait, hold up. I just realized I forgot to do very crucial step is to queue dice up, but because it's the first turns, nothing happens. This would queue automatically into their Magic Gathering tile, and then this would go into their hand next turn. Or actually, no, it goes into... Yeah, no, it goes into the tile here. But on this side, I forgot to do this when I switched Villain's turn. This would actually be brought from the queue into the tile. So you can see Conjuring Mana does help. We have so much more dice than the... You can see, than the enemy here. It's very, very useful in gathering new dice and just being able to do a ton of things. So now that we have this from the previous turn, we just gather all these guys. Oop. Yes, actually, let's lock the card and grab these. Okay. Did I not lock a... Oh, I didn't. Hold on. Go. Okay. Now we have all these dice, so this would normally just go into the player's hand, rather than here on the board, but because there's no hand necessarily, I wonder if you can you move these dice into... No, it's just... Alright, so now, this actually would tick down to 0. So this goes into here now. And we'll tick this down by 1. So that means that we can't have max 4 anymore to queue up. But we do get these dice, so let's see what we can do with this. We can replenish the healing part here, which we probably need. It's like the main ability here, and now we're left with these dice here. So this is where that summoning thing comes from these dice. So I'm gonna say you can either choose whichever card comes first that relates to these dice, or you can say specifically which class you want. So I want a barbarian class because I have these two for the barbarian. So we're just gonna go through a search here and try to find the first. Yes, let's go. Okay, first one. And then we're just gonna see whichever one lines up with this first, which is this. Okay, so we shuffle it first. And then you search. Perfect. I'm gonna summon these two. Actually, you know what? I actually might not summon that because I'm just realizing it now. I can hold my mana in my hand just for this turn only. Maybe, okay, you know what we'll do? We'll make a clarification actually that this exhausts after your turn. Because right now it's like when it comes to your turn, you exhaust this. So let's make a clarification here. Wizard. Mark this with hit dice exhaust once the counter reaches 0. Alrighty, so here we go. Okay, so I have a... Okay, I have here a guy I want to summon, so we're going to put that there and give them their respective... Check. Okay, this doesn't have the points yet, so we're just going to create those points real quick. Okay, so let's put the dice on here, and then now we'll see we have an extra dice, but we can still hold on to it because of this ability that's still active. from our wizard here. So what I could do, I could just attack here and then use this to replenish, which is probably what I'm gonna do. Yeah, there's no order in like what you have to do, so this is perfect. And you'll see that all these guys are out of reaction, so I'm actually gonna attack these guys because they're probably gonna, yeah, if I don't stop them now or at least do some damage to them, they're probably gonna come back to bite me. So let's try to hit here with our barbarian. Come on, yes! Oh, let's go, let's go. That's a 7. Okay, we're gonna do another unarmed punch here. Okay, that's a 1. Okay, that's a 1. So that's 8 damage, and then we're gonna replenish here this mana, and then we're gonna roll again. I'm trying to get rid of this guy here. 8. Oh, nice. Okay, so I can just hit it all in one go. That would be more than enough. I think just enough actually. It's 8, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, that would be just enough to get rid of this guy. No reactions again, so they can't do anything. Or they also don't have any spells, so I'm not worried about them playing something sneaky. So I can't just get rid of all of them at once. So let's do that. Let's get rid of their healer or attacker. Oh, since I'm gonna get rid of this in one go, I'll just say I get rid of, yeah, I'll get rid of that there. And then I'm just gonna make a separate pile for them over here. Any removed allies. Do that to mirror what we have on this side. And these dice here will get moved to, let's see, where did these go? Next turn you're able to extend max. Mark this. Nice, Q by 1. Okay. So yeah, this would go into my pool here because there are exhausted dice. This would get flipped because I've exhausted all its abilities, and I think now it's appropriate then to just do a tiny bit of healing to this guy for at least 2 points. Perfect too. Okay, so this brought back up to full health. Then this is moved to the pool. I don't need any other healing right now, so we'll not do any healing on this part. I think what we'll do, let's roll with the cleric to do some temporary HP with, it's called second wind here. Let's roll some temporary HP for the other guy, or other healer. That's 2. So let's see, yeah, it's 2 HP. Right there. Then I guess we'll attack here with our. Oh, nice, 6. Okay, I might just go directly to the leader here because they do have a healer, so they could potentially heal that all the way back up next turn. So I don't want to hit them for anything. And this, it's tapped. Yeah, so let's do 6 to you. So we're at 34. This is not. Oh, why are you not moving? So, 34. Okay, let's see. Okie dokie. Did I do anything else here? I can't. Right? Yeah. So now this dice was exhaust here. This goes into the pool. And then now I get to choose what dice I want to queue up next. So I kind of want to look in advance and be like, okay, what dice do I immediately need? This is at 1, so once it comes back, I can use my temporary dice again. Again, I'm only, because that dice exhausted, I can only put 3 into the queue now. So 1, 2, we'll put Okay, I won't put a d6 in there because I want to try to get some attack here, be more aggressive. We'll put in 1 to try to fill in that, and then we'll put in a d8 to fill in the barbarian here, and then 1 more. We'll do a... might as well do a d6. Get as much damage as we can. And yeah, okay, so that's the hero's turn. Now it moves to the villain. And all those that we just queued up will go onto the tile here. And then you'll see these that we have onto the tile here. This will go into the hand. Ooh, not the whole tile. Go into the hand. And now they can allocate these to their followers here. So we'll do this a D8, right? We'll move this to the king. Move this to the king. Doesn't need to be tapped though. Oh gosh. Yeah, sometimes you get those glitches as well, which doesn't happen in real life because, you know, dice can't just magically pass through cards. We'll do that here, and then we'll have 1 more D8 here. So we'll use this to summon the first one, which comes here. Oh, that's a bad thing. Okay, this is a max level. This is bad for the other team. This is a max level barbarian here. I'm gonna flip this around and show you guys. A max level of barbarian, which is really bad. Okay, I think this doesn't have points as well. I'll explain what this does in a bit. It's gotta map these here. Okay. So this is a max barbarian. So let's take a look at what that does in the context of the game. So we scroll down here. Should be, there we go, here. The max barbarian. So what additional ability do they gain at max level? So after you have made your character actions, you may choose to roll an additional d4 as damage towards any target. If left unspent for more than 5 turns, you may choose to go into rage and deal 1 d8 worth of damage to any single target, not including the leader. Once expended, once expended, or the d4 dice damage is used, the type returns back to 1d4, the dice type. So that's pretty effective. Basically, every turn they have an extra d4 damage they can do, but if they choose not to spend it, after 5 turns of not using that ability, then they can go into rage and deal 1 extra d8, which is very scary. And their health here is considered 12 as well. So if I were to use this to level up with Circle of Abundance, I would just place this on top of the card here, and they would get an extra d4 damage on top of all those abilities. So usually with the max level characters, you want to put it on top of others of the same class, because then it'll be just so much more damage that you can do. But unfortunately, that's not the case here. We do get some good stuff though. So let's see what I want to do. I'm probably gonna have to try and heal our leader here first. All right, 4. Okay, this goes into the pool. Alrighty. So that goes in the pool there, and then we're probably going to... Let's see here. So this is tapped now, so let's do that. This is just straight up damage, so let's do... Oh, let's hit this damage here. Whoa! Big roll. Okay, 3 damage. Not the best. This has 2 temporary health right now, so yeah, not the best. So they don't have any reactions left, so well, they do have this spell card, so they could potentially heal up. Okay, just to make sure that doesn't happen, we're gonna hit them with this here. We're gonna roll all our damage values right now, and then we're gonna see where we wanna spread that. So the 4, 4, and 3. Ooh, nice. Okay, we have 11 points of damage. If I'm calculating that right, so we can actually get rid of these two, and then I guess hit the 3 to this, because it would be halving its damage, I guess. Yeah, I guess we can do that. Okay, so let's hit the 4 to this guy over here, the healer. Let's see, does the other player approve of that? Are they okay? Okay, they're not going to use their stuff here. So this now, because it's still attached to this character, it doesn't, this dice doesn't get put in your pool. Instead it gets put out of play, and then this gets, this card, oh, still locked, this card gets moved here.
It's sunset on Friday, I'm stuck on the highway, it's been a while.
To the other cards here. Alright, there we go. That gets moved into there. That's the 4 damage. And then we have 4 more here to deal to this attacker, so let's get rid of that too. And with our 3, we're gonna hit to this guy here. You'll see that one of our healers died. It's this situation that I described where sometimes one of your clerics will die, but their ability still lives on. So we're gonna do. Actually, it doesn't live on, but this would then just get removed out of play, because again, there's no character to attach it to, so that gets hit, and then they get hit for 1. So they aren't dead yet, but almost. Okay, so now these two tap. I won't use my ability here, so I'm actually gonna grab for how many turns did it say it was again? 5 turns. Okay, we'll use a D6 to mark this then. We'll change value to orange. Take this up by 1 to show that we aren't using that ability. I'm gonna tap these two. You know what I'll do? I actually put it here behind the card. Because usually when you put the dice at the front, it means something that the other player or your own characters are affecting. Sometimes it can be a bit confusing, so I'm just gonna put it behind here just to make sure you absolutely know what's going on. And yeah, I just need to find dice now to queue up. I have a max of 3, so 1 here. We're gonna go aggressive, 1, 2, and we have 2 attackers, so let's go 3. All right, cool. So now it's gonna move over, and we're gonna do 1 last turn with the hero, and then we'll call it a stream. So now that it moves over, the villain put this into their. Oh, let's put this into. Come on. Put this into their tile. Okay, I get why I didn't anchor this thing down now. Because that can happen. Just lock this. Same thing over here. Just get rid of this guy. Alrighty, there we go. So now that it moves over to the hero's turn, we're going to take all the dice that they accumulated from their mana gathering tile over here, or generation tile over here. Okay, so now it's their turn to put the dice in there. This is at 1 health. We have, okay, we have enough to summon another attacker, so let's go ahead and do that. I also want to take a look at how much attackers we have left, just so I have a mental note of what we're able to summon. So we have 1. After this, we'll have 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, 4 attackers. Okay, so let's summon an attacker. This would usually be from the top of the deck, so it's just whatever is available first. And then, yeah, we'll shuffle the rest of the deck here. Alright, cool. Nice, okay, there we go. And then this would tick down to 0, so then we can get rid of that now. I'll give this wizard here. Alright, let's use our healing first to heal up this guy. Any value works here because it's 2. So, we go. This gets put into our pool. And then, can't really do much after that. We're going to tap this first. Let's try to hit for 6 here. Oh, come on. 1 damage? That sucks. Okay, we can't do anything with that. See if we can get more damage here. 6. Okay. Do another damage here. We're not going to have a counter, which is kind of sad, but... Okay, 3. Okay, that's good. We have 10 damage on the field here. They do have a healer, so they... This is where, like, looking at your... Again, another strategy of this game is, like, looking at the opponent's tiles, or looking at the opponent's dice, and seeing, like, oh, what do you guys have on your side as well. So they have a 2d8 and 1d4, so they... depending on where they put the dice, they might put their d4 to the healer, which can't heal up too much, so we can get some damage into the healer, because otherwise, if we don't feed the healer soon, they're just going to keep healing the guys. So that's probably the best move. And then they're probably going to... These have to go to barbarians to hit us. I'm not too worried about losing, you know, too many guys right now. So what I'll do then, if I'm not too worried about that, is probably just hit all this damage towards their healer here and out to the face, even though that would do a significant amount. I don't want them to have these such high, like, level characters, so we're gonna move the... Yeah, we're gonna move the this guy here. So with 10 damage, we have 2 left on that. So let's grab a D12. Okay. These guys represent health here in this game, so we're gonna do D12. On this, they would have 2 health left after all the damage is dealt. It gets put into our pool, and now all of this taps. Alright. Because all of that taps, now we're going to pass it back to the villain there. To see what they do. We're going to do, we're going to have the villain go through one more time, then when it comes back to us, we'll call it a game. But this way you guys can see more so how the actions and then reactions to stuff works. But now let's queue up our dice here. So they're probably going to attack a lot given what they've queued up. So I'm probably going to need... A lot of my guys are low health, so they're probably going to get wiped. So we're probably going to... Probably going to try to summon another wizard. So let's go 1, 2, and then if we can, we'll try to... should we try to go for another... Yeah, let's do that. 1, 2, 3. Let's move. Oh, that's the queue. Technically now would be the opponent's turn. Okay. Bro, this... Why does the music go so hard? Okay, so let's see here. Let's go. It's the character's villain's turn. Let's move the dice over. Okay, so this is the dice that they have. How are they gonna load this up? Let's see. Probably. Do they care about their healer right now? I don't think they care too much about their healer. So, because they probably want to be more aggressive to whittle down our health as fast as possible, because we only have 20. So what they're gonna do? They're gonna take their D8. Just gonna flip these up first. Take their D8, put it on this guy, the 4, and D8 here. So let's see. Okay. Go 2 here. Oh. 2 here. Ah. Come on, I just want the dice. Roll for damage. 4 damage. Ooh, 4. Okay, we can get rid of this guy. Or we can split it and hit the wizard. For demonstration purposes... This 4. It's enough to hit this guy. 4, 5, 6. Ooh, wait. Okay, with the way the math works out, we can actually go 4, 5, 6 to take out the wizard and the healer. So let's go ahead and do that. That's gonna be put in there, here. Then these guys get moved to the pool. They get tapped, and they would queue up their dice for next time. I just put some random dice here. These get put into there, and now it would be the hero's turn, and this will keep going back and forth until any of the characters' health reach 0, or until I believe I wrote it down here, at the end of the game. So yeah, the game ends when your opponent's health reaches 0, or if all the characters in their deck have been removed from play, whichever comes first. So if for some reason there's a tie or both players reach 0 at the same time, you basically just call it a tie, and if you want, you can play another game to determine, like a tiebreaker round, to determine who goes first or who wins, or you can just leave it there at a tie. But yeah, that was Last Stand, inventors. I hope you enjoyed this game. If you guys have any comments or opinions on this game, it's still in its prototyping phases, so feel free to let me know what you guys think about it. And if you guys want as well, I can post the rules and stuff on Twitter and on all my social media and stuff for you guys to check out as well. But that has been the game design showcase for today. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I'm just gonna head to our chatting screen so we can talk a bit before we wrap this stream up. Alright, thank you, inventors, again, for tuning in to the Game Design Showcase today. I hope you guys learned a bit about game design and card game design, and how RPG elements as well as dice history, I guess the history of dice plays into all of this. So yeah, again, if you want access to all the slides and whatnot, link for YouTube folks are in the description. Twitch folks, it's all in my bio. Feel free to check all of that out, all the good stuff. And of course, I posted in chat as well the slides, so you guys can take a look at that, a little look-see at that as well. But before we officially end the stream for today, we're gonna do a little VTuber shoutouts. So you guys can stick around for that. Again, if you don't know what that is, it's a recording segment that we do at the end of the stream where we shout out a VTuber, big or small. And kind of is my way to kind of get back to the community, because I can't really do too much but play and design games. So I can't really do much art stuff. My art skills aren't great, so this is what I do to give back. So let's see who we're shouting out today. All right, we are shouting out today the one and only train operator. Is that their official title? Let me just double check here. Train operator? Is it their yeah, train operator. One and only Doobie. Doo. Let's link the stuffs in chat here. If you guys don't know who Doobie is, she is, as I said, a train operator. Does a bunch of cool 3D and non-3D kind of streams. They do a lot of mocap stuff, gaming, and try to sing and dance and all that cool stuff. So if you guys are interested in checking out who this is, they've done a recent 2 weeks ago. They did a collab actually with Henya, which is really interesting. So go check that out if you guys are interested. For Twitch folks, I'm actually gonna did I paste the? No, I didn't. Okay, let me get the YouTube real quick for you guys. Check out Doobie, go support her. And totally unrelated to that, but a certain other yellow themed, I guess, VTuber has reappeared from the shadows. The one and only Amelia Watson from Hololive Myth in Kara's spring concert, I think it was. Her recent spring concert, which was totally a surprise. I haven't reacted to that yet, so maybe we'll do that sometime on stream during our Hollow Marathon. That's probably what I intend to do with some of the reaction stuff that we're gonna do. But that's exciting. I would love to see that live. I've been seeing like tweets and whatnot and reposting from that, but other than that, not really. I haven't really been seeing much from that. But totally unrelated. No, by the way, totally not related to this you know, to Doobie at all. Let's go over before we end here. Of course, I will also post the shout out stuff on my social media. So that's Twitter, that's YouTube, YouTube posts on who we shout out. So yeah, hopefully you guys will find that interesting. Again, I would love to any feedback from today, from either the game design showcase streams or for the game that we showcased today. If you guys want if you guys have any suggestions or anything like that, feel free to let me know. VOD folks, feel free to let me know in the comments if you're on Twitch. I don't know if there's a comment thing on Twitch. I'm kind of new to Twitch, so I don't really know what's going on over on that side. But if not, just feel free to let me know on Twitter as well. My Twitter is at Wilson Goldfinch, all connected, of course. And yeah, tomorrow we're gonna be doing some chill streaming at 1 p.m. EDT. We're gonna do a little work and chat. The reason I've chosen like 1 p.m. instead of our usual 8 this week is because I want to kind of catch the last few hours of, you know, anyone typical 9 to 5 kind of work schedule, so we can all have some final productive hours of the day. I'm probably going to be doing some editing stuff behind the scenes, or just working on our, you know, our TTRPG as well. But feel free to pop by that stream. We're going to be going for a little bit, for maybe like 2-3 hours. Again, I don't really know how long that's going to be exactly, but I guess we'll find out. We're going to do a little work and chat. You guys are feel free to, you know, pop in, either just chill in the chat and just say hello, or just tune into that stream, have someone there as well, help you be productive. Because I know personally, I've tuned into those kind of streams before and I found it very helpful. It was getting work done because I'm like actually some being there. But I do find it sometimes, and I hope this doesn't happen to, you know, when we do this tomorrow, that if people do start chatting, and we like, alright, start thinking of something and we start, you know, stirring up a little conversation or whatnot. Sometimes I find it so startling because you're in like the zone of doing your own work and then you just randomly hear, because sometimes you might not have, you know, the stream tab visible to your eyes, so you just hear this voice and on whatever device you're working on. You're like, oh my gosh. But hopefully that doesn't happen tomorrow. But yeah, that's what we're going to be doing. And for the rest of the week, we're basically just going to continue designing our TTRPG WBC Realms. My goal is to kind of make it like a sort of like a very simple, bare bones like D&D kind of thing for beginners. Of course, it's not going to be D&D, but it's set in our lore universe, our group's lore universe. So if you're interested in exploring that and seeing how all that works, tune into the stream on the 24th or previous streams that we've done this week on YouTube. That's where all my main content is. I believe on Twitch folks, if you guys are seeing this during like live right now, or within the next, I want to say 5-6 days. Yeah, if you guys are seeing this within the next 5-6 days of this stream being uploaded, then you'll be able to see the first day. But if not, they're all on YouTube, so no fret on not tuning in and being like, oh no, where the heck is everything? It's all there. So, and then we'll end our week off at the Saturday with some chill Minecraft. We haven't played that game in a while. I was debating whether or not to do Minecraft or like what's it called, Sonic Shadow Generations and whatnot, but I was like, you know what, we need a chill weekend. My brain this week has been pretty racked up in all this designing stuff. I want to take a little mental break, you know, and get into some other stuff, and also hopefully give you guys some more chill gaming content as well. I honestly, as much as I love doing the design stuff, I do miss the gaming side of it, which we will explore more next week. Gaming side and reaction side, because at least for me, I'm not yapping that much, so it saves my throat a little bit. But because you can probably tell if you start from the beginning of the stream, like, whew, my voice is probably so dead. But that's only because I literally have been yapping the whole time. So anyhow, that will be our stream schedule tomorrow. But until then, inventors, I will be signing off. I've been Wilson Goldfinch, your steampunk inventor from the Sky City of Leviton. I'll see you guys tomorrow at 1 p.m. EDT. That's 10 a.m. if I'm converting the time correctly. That's 10 a.m. PDT for some working chat. We're just gonna chill tomorrow. So see you guys then. Thank you so much for tuning in the stream and to Game Design Showcase. Thanks so much for sticking around. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye bye.